I believe, and I really do believe this, that everybody can be wealthy. But when talking to different individuals across the country, it is clear that some of you have been lied to. Yes, you have understood lies. And we're going to talk about the 6 lies that are keeping you broke. And of course, we're going to do this in ping pong fashion where we go back and forth. And of course, we always do ladies first here. Anna, how you doing? What is the first lie that is keeping people broke?
I think it's great. I think the first one is that there's no hope and you can't get wealthy, that's only for the rich. Because if you really believe that you are going to always be resigned to be poor, then you will stay poor. And I know this because I grew up in poverty and I know what that poverty mentality is. And without sounding, I'm just going to say it, not politically correct, but having a victim mentality that, I'm a victim of the system and the system is against me and there is no hope, will keep you a victim of the system and without hope. So you have to first believe that you can create a life different than the one that you may have been brought up with, than the one that you have today. And that starts with belief, positivity, hope, and determination that you are going to do things differently. Because if you keep doing things the way you are, or all your neighbors are doing, if you're poor, you're going to keep getting the same results. So hope and belief that something different is possible, to the point that that belief actually drives you to take action.
I'm so happy you brought that one up first. I'm doing this Get Wealthy presentation. I've done it to thousands of people across the country now. And that's where, it's like my third slide. It all starts with belief. And I
Yeah.
go on to say that, if you don't believe, I'm not here. I'm not in the convincing business.
Right.
I've seen people come from horrible situations. It takes time and this, that, and the other. But yeah, it does all start with hope. So, I'm going to kind of bleed off of that one for my first one. It's actually a little bit different. I just love this conversation. I believe that people think getting wealthy is hard. I believe that people think there's some kind of magic special sauce, some code words. And at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, getting wealthy is math and time. That's all it is. And the math part is, oh, by the way, you've got to do things like live below your means. You got to, create more disposable income, because disposable income is investable income, and then you've got to do it for a decade, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking your entire life.
Right.
We're talking a season.
Right.
So again, it all starts with belief, but you should take this as like a lightning bolt of electricity. Getting wealthy is simple math and time. That's all it is.
I'd say like a little nuance to that. I like that thought and where that leads, but I would say it isn't easy, but it's not that complicated, right? It is hard, but you can choose your hard. I mean, anything that you do that's worth doing is going to come with, it's hard in some extent. But again, are you going to pick the hard of being poor and living check to check your whole life? Or are you going to pick the hard of having to learn and make mistakes and keep, failing up? You kind of choose your hard, but it's not complicated to your point. It requires learning, for sure. So I do like that one. I would say another one is the lie that society tells us that stuff brings happiness. Because I can tell you, especially when you do have it hard, when you are poor and you do live check to check, poverty mentality is every time you get some money, you think this is like something that I'm going to have and it's going to be gone and I might not get it tomorrow. So I'm going to go spend it on something that's going to make me happy today. And so you go out, you see a lot of poor people literally on food stamps and government assistance, and they go buy $200 tennis shoes. They go buy a gold chain. They buy the most expensive iPhone they can. They go have a big car payment that eats up, a large percentage of their check. And the thought is, oh, if I just have this, I'm going to be happy. But the happiness that is temporary, that comes from stuff, things depreciate. They're not worth the same anymore. You change. You don't like it anymore. And so if you could learn to delay satisfaction, not feeling like you have to have stuff to keep up with the Joneses and to be happy, you will become much wealthier because you won't be spending on things where the happiness is temporary and fleeting. And along those lines, one of the things that I tell people, instead of rushing out and buying the boat or the fancy car, go rent the experience for the weekend. Instead of spending $40,000 on a low end boat, or 40 or 50 on a car, 100 on a fancy, Corvette, literally go out and rent it and drive it for the weekend, get the experience without taking on the debt that robs you from growing your wealth in the future. Because every dollar you're putting down on a payment for stuff is a dollar that's not going into producing wealth in the future.
I love that. I'm going to bleed off that one as well and say it slightly differently. The phrase that I hear, and frankly, I said and felt for a decade of my adult life, so I say this fully owning that I was there, was the notion that you say, I deserve, right? You get a raise, I deserve. You get a bonus check, I deserve. And again, it's just that dopamine hit. It's that, that rush, that instant gratification, whatever it is, and it's gone. Right? That capital that could have been invested and start to compound is gone. It's in a pair of shoes. It's in a fancy belt. It's in a car payment, whatever it is. And it's just a spending mentality, right? We are, and frankly, let's be clear, the economy is built on that, right? We have a 63 or 66% consumer economy, but folks, you don't have to participate, or you could delay participation. Wait a decade. As somebody who had his dream car and drove it to the ground, 110,000 miles, I could tell you I loved it every single day. But I didn't get it the first time I could. I got it when I could have paid cash 5 times over.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you get it. Again, folks, take this notion of I deserve and put it in your back pocket for a decade. And you will have so many more options. And trust me, the things that you can do are so much better.
Yeah.
So what do we got for your final one? I love all of these. There's things, folks, you might want to go back and re-listen to this again, because again, these are all lies that are keeping you broken. We've got 2 more bangers coming.
Yeah.
Anna, what do you got for number 3?
So the next one off the top of my head is this idea that money is evil. Because I can tell you that a lot of people that I've talked to, and especially people of faith, have this idea that if you have money, it's evil, and that keeps people from pursuing wealth. And the reality is, there is scripture, especially for people of faith, that says it's the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So using money is not a good or bad thing. It brings out more of who you are, right? And so if you are a greedy person that doesn't care about hurting people, you will pursue money with greed and you will hurt people. And that's evil. That's not good, right? But it's that love of money over what good it can do that's the problem. But the reality is, money is like an immoral object that is a tool that we can use. And we can use that money for good, or we can use it for bad. And so I think if people view money as it's always bad or it's evil, they will not pursue it, because in their mind, they're thinking this is a bad thing. Instead, they should expand their thinking about money to say money is a tool. And the more I can accumulate of it, the more good I can do that's aligned with what I believe are good things, all kinds of philanthropic things. I mean, hospitals are built and diseases are put away and veterans are helped and battered women are helped, not through government, but through philanthropy, people that have created wealth and they've said, I'm going to do something good with this wealth and I'm going to help other people. And I know for me as a real estate investor, the more money I have gotten, the more of a blessing it's been that I've been able to give to a lot of different missions and ministries and causes that are important and close to my heart. And so I think that it's probably something not too many people talk about, but if you really talk to people one-on-one, there's a large group of people that view, especially people that are poor, they view people that have money as evil, because they have to have it's kind of back to that victim mentality. Like, there's no chance for me to get here because of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and, the evil 1%. The reality is it's a really bad mindset that keeps people poor.
Yeah, the last one I'll go with, it's funny, this is my 3rd one. I actually had this on the list as my first one, but I love the fact that we got bangers before this. And that is, you can save your way to wealth. I mean, I know a lot of people have that mentality and they're disciplined. And again, what I've seen over time and generations of trying to help people is You know, if you're that person in the family who is saving, there's always some kind of emergency that goes after it and takes it, right? You're the only one with, you know, $5,000 because, you know, mom's car broke or whatever it is. And, you know, you're just constantly squirreling away. That's not how you really get wealthy. You know, that, you know, there's certainly a skill set there. Again, I think you should be a saver. Again, to me, that's all discretionary income. But where you get wealthy is investing that capital so that your money can make more money. And then if you do this long enough, you can live and enjoy and splurge on the money that your money makes. That way it just becomes this infinite loop, right? You can't spend your way out of it if you're only spending what spends off of your, you know, your hard-earned money. So again, what I would tell people, yes, absolutely. Get a 6-month emergency reserve, of course. But you've got to find that investment vehicle. And then the last thing I'll say about this is don't let anybody tell you what the right vehicle is for you, right? If your investment vehicle is, you know, I don't know, classic cars, or, you know, I have a buddy of mine who's into vintage football and hockey cards. We're talking 1950s and 1960s. That's like his thing. It brings him joy. He's been able to build up a portfolio of vintage cards, graded cards, that's over $1 million now.
Wow.
Right? Because again, it's his skill. He's been doing it for decades, and he knows where value is, and he knows people, you know, when they misprice stuff, he jumps on it. And again, he's a trader now, but he's built up a 7-figure business that spins off hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, and he loves every minute of it. Right? So again, find your thing. For us, it's real estate. For me, it was 93703, single family homes, 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage. I knew that criteria better than any other human being on the planet.
Right.
And I could look in 20 minutes. So again, don't follow, you know, stocks or crypto or gold or, you know, whatever it is because somebody said so. Find what speaks to you. Find what you can research and dive into, and it feels like 5 minutes and it's been 5 hours. If you can find value, your money will multiply. It'll explode. It's just find your thing.
It's amazing. If I can just piggyback off of that, one other thing that just popped in my head, we'll call it a 3.5, right? Item is the thought that, you know, you got to start from scratch and you got to do it alone. People will say, I don't have any money to start. I don't have any skills to start. I don't have any resources to start. So this thought that you have to have something, you have to have money to make money, isn't true. You have to learn that you need to be able to be really good at using other people's resources, other people's time, other people's money, other people's talents. So if you can learn to leverage other people and get rid of this notion that it's too daunting, I don't have anything to start, this doesn't happen to people like me, kind of going back to belief, and learning to leverage other people, then you can go much further, much faster in growing wealth than if you try to just go it alone and figure it out all on your own.
I love that. Folks, again, these are the 6, we'll call it 7. We gave you a bonus, 7 lies that are keeping you broke. Let us know what your favorite is. And of course, let us know what we missed. Do you have a lie that you think we missed? Anna, where can people find you?
Great. You can find me here on your channel on social media at Anna Kelly REI Mom. And if you're looking for real estate and wealth coaching and consulting, you can book an appointment with me at AnnaKellyInvesting.com.
Thank you so much.